Welcome to the new weekly outlook for this week. We're going to start off with the fundamentals and then move on to the technical side here. So starting off with the breaking news from this weekend, US strikes 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Iran has vowed to impose everlasting consequences for the bombing and said it reserves all options to defend its sovereignty. Right after the strikes, US President Donald Trump came out and warned that his administration would intensify military action if Iran didn't agree to peace. And the UK also came out and said that its military was not involved in American airstrikes on Iran, although a cabinet minister expressed support for their results. The UK has also bolstered deployments of fighter jets and refueling planes in recent days to better ensure the defense of British military bases in the region if Iran decided to strike as part of any counterattack. Since the war has started between Israel and Iran, we saw that there was very muted effects when it comes to S&P 500 index for the equities in general, gold, and also JPY. These are assets that we usually see a lot of volatility in when there is any sort of war, geopolitical tensions, or anything like that happening. So the only market that we really saw massive movements in has been the crude prices. And oil has surged basically 11% since Israel launched airstrikes on Iran a little more than a week ago, with crude volatility soaring to levels not seen since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. In contrast, the S&P 500 index was down by just 1.3%. Looking at this chart, you can tell that even on the weekly time frame, US 30 only was sitting in consolidation and only had very muted effects, just creating top-wick rejections into this 42,700 mark and tapping into the support of 41,800. So this market reaction will depend heavily on how this conflict develops, with a bigger impact if Iran responds with actions such as blocking the Strait of Hormuz, which is a key passage for oil and gas shipments, or attacking US forces in the region. When the market opens up, the traders are expecting a drop in stocks, a jump in crude prices as investors seek safety, but we're not expecting a massive sell-off. The fund managers on the institutional side have reduced their stock holdings, shares are no longer overbought, and hedging demand has increased, which means that a deep sell-off is less likely right now at these levels. However, because of the back and forth that we have been getting from President Trump and the many U-turns that he has been making, investors' fatigue has set in a bit, especially as the July 9th deadline is approaching, but the sentiment is that it can also be postponed, which is going to create further uncertainty in the markets. So the key dates that we are keeping in mind when it comes to this particular fundamental is June 23rd for the emergency G7 foreign ministers meeting and June 24th for the UN Security Council's crisis session. On June 24th and 5th, Fed Chair Powell will also be testifying, so those are also going to be very impactful for this pair particularly. There's a lot of macro fundamentals and economic data points that are going to be coming out this entire week, so we have great opportunities when it comes to fundamentals and aligning that with the market sentiment and the technical setups. Now, with that being said, I'm going to show you guys Forex Factor real quick before we start breaking down the charts. We have, starting off tomorrow, a lot of red folders, a lot of PMI data coming out from the Euro, GBP, and the US. And then continue down onto Tuesday, you have CPI data coming out from Canada. In New York session, you have Governor Bailey speaking and Fed Chair Powell testifying, consumer confidence coming out as well. And then on Wednesday, Powell testifying again, day 2. And this is about the semi-annual monetary policy report before the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs in Washington, D.C. Coming into Thursday, you have final GDP coming out from the U.S., unemployment claims, durable good orders, and then continue down onto Friday, ending off with core PCE price index. So a lot coming out from economic data points and a lot happening from a macro fundamental perspective as well. With that being said, let's start over with the technical analysis. So you have that top-wick rejection right here at that 42,700 that we were just talking about. And then you have that bottom wick rejection at 41,800. So that's kind of the area that we have been sitting in since this war started between Israel and Iran. As you can see, very muted effects. Coming onto the daily time frame, we start to see this consolidation a lot more clearly. We also see that price is tapping into these strong support levels and just bouncing off of that. We're going to come down onto the 4-hour time frame and start breaking down what kind of levels we're looking at when it comes to scalps, day trades, or even swing trade opportunities. So even when price rejected into this 43,000 mark and pushed back down, we are still in this bullish structure from higher time frames. Just to show you guys visually, I will draw out that trend line so you can see that. So we're still in this bullish structure, but we start to see a bit of a corrective move happening here. So that is just to say that we're sitting at a very key level from a technical perspective. And anytime that price pulls back to create a new lower high, it comes back and it respects these previous levels that were respected as support or resistance in the past. So here, for example, after that sell-off, price came back and rejected right into that level and then pulled back down, created a new low, pushes back up, corrects the sell-off that happened here, but respects these previous areas which were resistance in the past and even support. Then we push back down, we get enough volume to come back and tap into this 41,800. We pull back and we have come back and respected into this area about 3 times. So once, twice, and third time now. So what we're looking for is, can we clear out of this minor consolidation here and when the market opens up, and look for our selling opportunities at first targeting 41,800, and then sitting at that level, it is the market sentiment of whether or not we're going to get a clear direction on where is Iran headed with their decision making on how they're going to respond to the US striking their 3 nuclear sites. Come on to the hourly time frame and you get a much clearer picture. So you don't really have any buys setting up here unless price can clear above this 42,300. And then you have your sells below this area here. Let's just call it 42,200. So when you come on to the 4-hour time frame, you're clearing out of this consolidation and then pushing down. And so on the 1-hour time frame as well, you see that consolidation a lot more clearly. So that is what I'm using as my point of reference prior to any selling opportunities and then a continuation down. Let's come over to GBP JPY. You have the fundamentals right here outlined. So Bank of England maintaining their rates at 4.25%, the Middle East conflict escalation, which is going to impact the pound and the yen. The food prices contributing to the inflation and also making Bank of England hold off on any sort of rate cuts. And the UK is also going to be investing around £275 million to grow their skilled workforce. That announcement is being made today on Sunday. Then throughout the week, you have PMI data coming out from the UK as well, which is going to come out on Monday. Then you have Bank of England governor speaking on Tuesday, and let's continue down onto Thursday. You also have the MPC member who will be speaking as well on Wednesday. And this is going to be very important because it's at a conference hosted by Bank of England. So this is really just to see what's going to happen with any clues related to inflation, this new investment that they're making, along with any clues on the monetary policy and things like that. When you're looking at the yen, you start off today with the manufacturing PMI coming out from Japan in a few hours. Then going into Monday, you have the core CPI coming out from Japan, Bank of Japan's core CPI year over year. Continue down into Tuesday, you have the BOJ summary of opinions. And then Wednesday, not much coming out from there. And then Thursday, continue down to Tokyo core CPI coming out and the unemployment rate, retail sales. And that's pretty much the end of the week there. Now looking at the technical levels, starting off with the weekly, we are sitting currently at our own resistance, which is pretty much the last high that price rejected into before these sell-offs happened here. And then last week, we closed off with this bottom wick rejection, which is at 194.1. Come onto the daily time frame, and we start to see how many times price has rejected into this over and over again, right? So you've had this entire strong support level, price rejects that, and then you get that push to come back and tap into these new highs. We come back and revisit into those, but then again, you have that sell-off. Same thing here. And that's the kind of resistance that we're sitting in at the moment. So we're not looking for any buying opportunities just yet here, unless price can break past that 196,800 and then continue bullish from there. And then when we drop down to lower timeframes, we're looking for any indications of either the 4-hour or 1 hour showing us a support here and then a push. So we have those buying opportunities to come back into that 200 mark Or if we see a resistance being formed here and then a push back down, then we're looking for sales to come back down into that 194.1. You drop to the 4-hour time frame and you start to see that resistance being formed here, massive sell-off, tapping into that 194.1, push back up, and that's kind of the area that we're rejecting into right now. So prior to any buying opportunities, I would want to see a clear above 196.8. For any sells, we can wait for price to break its own low and then continue pushing. For safer sell opportunities, I would want price to break below 196.3. and then a continuation down and target some of these minor previous support areas, and just look to the left for your reference point. Come on to the hourly. Hourly is showing us that clean consolidation. Same thing here as well. So that's why we're looking for a sell opportunity below 196.3, because once price established a resistance here, it was a straight sell to come back down. So is that potentially what we're going to end up seeing? And the first target here being around 195.8, and then a continuation down from there. Again, if the yen strengthens because of this escalation in Middle East war, then you're going to see a massive sell-off. If not, we're kind of hanging around here. And then you also need to wait for the developments from the UK side as well. We just went over fundamentals for the yen and for US 30, which is pretty much the same fundamentals here for USD as well. Now looking at this pair, starting off with the weekly time frame, we're sitting at our own high here as well. At 146.2, you have a support. So I'm going to mark off the candle body open at 144. And you can adjust these levels as you drop down to lower time frames and start to see much clearer levels here. Coming onto the daily time frame, after rejecting down here in April 2025, we got that great momentum to come back up and reject into 148.5. Continuation back down and held onto a support area here for multiple days, multiple weeks. Finally, that pushed back up into that 146.2 level. That's the area that we're rejecting right now. Let's drop down to the 4-hour time frame and take a look at these levels more clearly. On the 4-hour time frame, we see how price has respected into this area as resistance multiple times in the past. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5. And then as you scroll back, you'll see a lot more price action at this level. So that just confirms that this is a very strong level. That has also been a massive bullish momentum to the upside. So a few things that we're looking for here, because we're expecting the dollar strength to come in, and the yen is obviously a safe haven currency as well. We're expecting this pair to move in a bit more of a consolidation until we get more clarity on the direction, especially with this war escalation and everything like that. So a few things that we can see here is either another sell-off to come back and correct this bullish momentum, kind of target into these support areas first, into 145.4, because we're still in that bullish structure, and we're still going to be respecting that bullish structure even if we do tap into that 145.4, and that could simply just be a support and then a push back up, which might give us enough momentum to come back and look for buying opportunities up until 146.2, and then a continuation up from there would require some more fundamental development where you see the strength of the USD against the yen. For any buying opportunities, again, you're looking for that above 146.2. You need more fundamentals there, more strength from the dollar, and that's going to help us push back up. Then you have the first area of target around 146.7 or 8, and then clean price action to the upside, as you can see on the 4-hour time frame. So right now we're at a very critical level for this pair, and we also have a lot of fundamentals that are going to be developing throughout the week, which is really going to help move this pair. So just be a little bit more patient with it this week because we're expecting a lot more volatility in the markets. Coming over to gold, you have all the key fundamentals right here. Gold also in that massive bullish momentum. And then last weekly candle closed back down bearish. So we have this candle body open at 34.42. Bottom wick rejection right into these previous resistance areas from the past, which is 33.41.3. You come onto the daily time frame and you see how price has come back and rejected into the same exact resistance multiple times. So tapping into an all-time high with that top wick rejection, comes back, closes below it. We come back and revisit that area here again around 42 or 34.42 area. And then same thing here, you get the candle closures, push back down. Last two daily candles have closed out as a doji here, which tells you that there's a lot of uncertainty, not a lot of volume, not a lot of clear direction where we are headed, but we are still tapping into a very strong support level, after which we tend to see a lot of volume in the market. And so what we need to see here on the 4-hour time frame and even on the hourly time frame is clear support being formed and then a continuation back up. Quite similar to US 30, even though price was sitting in a consolidation, we still had some good clarity on where is price headed, just looking at pure price action. So after this massive sell-off, price started sitting in this consolidation area, a lot of choppy price action, but even within that, you had these new lows that are being formed, which were giving you indications of a bearish pressure here until on Friday when the market closed, it pushed back up right back into this previous consolidation area and held onto a resistance there. So now what we're looking for as the market opens up is price to break this high right around here and then continue back up bullish, so then you can target the resistance area of this consolidation, get some sort of a retest, and then push back up into this 34.42 area. Or if there's enough market fear in the markets when it opens up, then we can look for a straight push up into 34.42 level flat. Come onto the hourly time frame, and this is where you're going to mark off your zones. So we have that resistance right around here, as you can see clearly now, where price has been respecting this area as resistance in the past, even support. So very important level that we're tapping into at the moment, and that all of that just being consolidation. So the next area of target for our take profit levels, if we're looking for buys, is going to be up top here into that 3,400 mark. That's the level that price keeps rejecting into, even though it maintains this bear structure to the downside. So right now we're holding onto a support right here into this previous consolidation, another very key level, quite similar to how US 30 is also setting up, which is in that 3364.7 mark. If you're looking for sells, you wait for that level to be broken and then push back down into 3341.3. Or if you're looking for buys, then you wait for this level here to be broken and then push back up. So that's it for this week's weekly outlook. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at SharmaFX or comment below on YouTube with any of your questions, and I'd be more than happy to respond back. Make sure you guys are trading safe. There's a lot of fundamentals coming out. There's going to be a lot of great setups in the market. Just make sure that you're not over trading, over risking, or doing any of that stuff.